Greetings and salutations to all of you beautiful, lovely, fluffy, non-fluffy, and equally wonderful listeners out there. This is another edition of the KittyFoxCast. I am sitting here right now with my outdoor paws because I had to fix them for the next convention that I'm going to, which is in 2 days, currently, as of the time of recording this. I will be heading to Furry Week in Atlanta, FWA, in about 2 days. So I'll be there from Thursday to Monday this coming weekend. So that's, I believe that is the, let's see, I'll be there the 8th, and I'll be coming back. Let's take a look here. I'll be the 8th, and I'll be coming back on the 12th, so awesome. I'm excited. Can't wait. It's been, I can't believe it's already been a year since since the last FWA. The last one was fantastic. Like, last year was my first year going to FWA, and I had an absolute blast. I got to see Living Tombstone live, got to see Mystery Skulls live, got to see, which were two fantastic shows, by the way. Got to meet Michael Korvac, which, if those of you who don't know, Michael Korvac is the original voice actor for Angel Dust in Hazbin Hotel, and for the pilot, that is. And he was also the voice of Jax from Amazing Digital Circus, which is pretty awesome. And he's done other voice acting work too, but like those are the two that I can recall he's from at the moment. But anyway, so that was last year. That last year was also the year that somebody decided to set off fireworks in a garbage can or in the bathroom. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, somebody set off fireworks, and basically there was a whole bunch of smoke everywhere. It wasn't great. So yeah, gotta love furries sometimes, and gotta love people who are sabotaging furries as well, but we won't focus on that. Anyway, so that's what's going on this weekend, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have anything in particular to talk about for this podcast. I'm just kind of sitting here. It's very late at night. I need to clean I need to clean my fursuit, or what is left to clean, and that is just need to give my fursuit head a quick whack with some of that good detergent, and then I need to finish a video for this weekend, and I'll basically continue packing, and I'll be ready. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for this weekend, and it's going to be a great time. I'm excited to see a lot of friends, and I'm excited to continue this tradition of going all over the country for cons, So let's see. Just to kind of recap the year so far, I went to Anthro Northeast A&E in January. I went to technically went to a local con in February, so I'm going to count that one. That's 2. Then I went to Motor City FurCon at the end of March. Then I went to TFF in April, and then also Anthro Ohio in April. So let's see, A&E, local con, MCFC, TFF, Anthro Ohio. I'm up to 5, and FWA is number 6. So after FWA, it's looking like Anthrocon, definitely. Actually, I take that back. It's going to be Colossal Con, Anthrocon. Then after that, we're looking at, let's see, AC, and then so July, August is Furrydelphia and Megaplex, and then possibly Wapafa. So I'm gonna put that in there just because, and then MFF. So yeah, it's definitely a busy year for cons, let me tell you. But kind of similar to what I was talking about in one of the previous episodes, I am, in all honesty, I'm looking to kind of downgrade my con, basically my con hopping, right, as it were, because like as fun as they are and as wonderful as each and every single one is and as memorable as I can make them, I'm gonna be honest. 8 cons in a year alone, even though I mentioned way more than eight, 8 cons in a year is a lot. Gonna be completely honest, it's a lot. And as much as I love to go and love to see people and meet people, it can just be overloading. So I think next year I'm definitely going to downgrade quite a bit. I'll probably cut the list in half and be a little more selective on the cons that I'll be attending. So definitely going to keep some favorites in mind. Like Anthrocon is a no-brainer. That's an automatic yes, I'm going. Another one is I'm probably gonna go to A&E again next year because that was a lot of fun, and then probably TFF. So that's three. And I'd like to try a different one next year. So I might go to a Canadian one, or I might go to a European one if I can swing it. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited for that. And other than that, that's kind of the projection for the rest of the year. So I'm really excited. I'm excited to share it with all of you, and I'm excited to share it with others too. It's going to be a great time. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, as I mentioned, I don't really have a whole lot that I can talk about. I mean, I could talk about this past weekend and the weekend before that even, because it's actually been a little over a week since I posted a podcast, so my bad. My apologies. But I think you'll find that it was definitely worth it, and I'll tell you why. So the first thing is, I mentioned this in the last podcast, but I just want to reiterate. As of today, it has been about 15 days since I quit nicotine. So it wasn't last Monday, but it was the Monday before that was the day that I quit, and I am still feeling good. I'm going to be very honest. This past weekend was definitely full of temptation, more than the usual. I've had more had more temptation this past weekend than probably I ever had in the past 2 weeks, and it has been difficult to say the least. Yeah, I have been staving. I have been faced with a number of trials to partake, but I've refrained every time, so I'm pretty proud of that. And I'm happy to say that my mood has definitely improved. I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling more productive at work. I'm not as my blood pressure doesn't feel as high, and my heart rate is definitely lower than it was. So those are all good things. I'm feeling very much in power, of this addiction than I had before. So I'm really thankful to say that yeah, it's I think I've kicked it. And of course, I want to be wary. Like, there is always the chance for relapse. There's always the chance for anything, any trigger, and maybe stress or something that could cause me to backslide. And in all honesty, I say bring it on. Like, I am willing to embrace that if it's what it comes to, because that's how you get over addiction. But as I said in the last video that I posted on the main channel, which I will link in the description, by the way, it once you're an addict, you're always an addict. It's you may be sober, but you always have that nagging little voice in the back of your head about something. Whether that's a substance or a habit or a lifestyle or something like that. Whatever it may be, you're always going to be having that little voice. We all have demons. As John Nash put it, we all have demons. I can just see mine. And for any of you who don't know, John Nash was a brilliant mathematician. In fact, there was a movie that was based on his life called A Beautiful Mind, and Russell Crowe plays his role in the movie. But yeah, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia when it was a late diagnosis, so he was in his 30s, I believe, when he got diagnosed. And this was back in like the mid 20th century, so they didn't know anything about schizophrenia at the time, nor did they have very effective treatment for it at the time. Their treatment for him was, in fact, shock therapy. and lots of it. Including medications and whatever they had. But yeah, that was the primary care was shock therapy, which shock therapy is still used to some extent, but only to like a safe extent, or like an extent that actually makes sense. It's oftentimes used as like a reset tool and not necessarily as a curative or a palliative tool. And it's definitely was never effective. In fact, the effectivity, if the effective rate, or the success rate, I guess I should say, of treatment for things like schizophrenia back in the 1950s was in fact under 50%. So, yeah, did not work too well. And not that it worked 50% of the time. I mean, like, the likelihood of it actually being a treatment was under 50% accurate or effective. So, take that information with what you will, but that's what he went through. But anyway, that being said, John Nash, as he was a brilliant mind, a brilliant, like, in his field in every way, and successful, and had a beautiful wife, all that, nice house, like, dude was living the dream. He had hallucinations and delusions of grandeur, and he saw 3 different types of hallucinations. The first one was an agent, a federal agent, or at least he thought, named Parcher, who would often, quote unquote, recruit him for jobs. The second hallucination was his supposed best friend. I can't remember his name in the movie, but his best friend, quote unquote, who was his, quote unquote, roommate in college, right? And the third one was his best friend, quote unquote, his daughter. And none of them were real. And that's why John Nash said what he said. We all have demons. The only difference is I can see mine. So what he was saying was, it's really no different. What I got and what you got really aren't any different from one another. Because the demons that we have are the ones that we, those of us who do not have schizophrenia have. We can still feel their presence. We can still feel that they're there. We still have those nagging voices and those feelings of dread and, paranoia that bring us down. And John Nash could see those demons. But, I did a little bit of reading over the weekend, and I was doing some podcast listening as I normally would on these long drives that I take sometimes, to friends' places and my parents' house and such. But I heard a podcast over this week, and it was actually Rainn Wilson's podcast. And to those of you who don't know, Rainn Wilson is the guy who played Dwight Schrute from The Office, among other characters in different mediums. But that's what he's most known for, method acting, basically, as Dwight, or theater acting, as he described it. Like, he had to create the Dwight character from, like, the ground up, as he would in theater, which I thought was pretty spectacular to hear about, like, how he built the character of Dwight. Anyway, on Rainn Wilson's podcast, he had an old friend on to many of us. And that old friend, I kid you not, was Steve Burns, a.k.a. Steve from Blue's Clues. And he sat down with Steve, and they talked about, like, they spent most of the time, like 90% of the time, talking about mental health, depression, coping, self-medication, addiction, and recovery, which I thought was super cool because I didn't know this for the longest time. And I will also link this podcast below, by the way, if you want to listen to it. But I didn't know this at the time of listening, but I guess Steve Burns, Steve from Blue's Clues, had, like, to a larger extent, back in the last few decades, crippling clinical depression. And you would never know by looking at him on the show. Like, you would never know from the show Blue's Clues that he had depression. He talked about how he was able to cope and hide it well, and was able to do his job effectively and make it seem like he was, a just this happy, lucky, like chipper guy who would help find clues from his dog on a children's show, right? But inside he said it himself. He was a neurotic little boy. That's how he described himself, which I thought was a very powerful statement. But anyway, so they talked about mental health and depression, like I said, and Rainn Wilson asked Steve, after learning about his past and anxiety and depression and all these other things that he dealt with. Like, he dealt with addiction with alcohol, and he dealt with having a mental breakdown in a hospital. It's a whole thing. Like, he was at the hospital for a completely different reason, and he had a mental break while there. And Rainn asked him, "So what do you do? What is the difference between Steve Burns now and Steve Burns then, and how do you cope with your depressive thoughts or your anxious feelings?" And Steve sat there and he explained how he has to detach. And I can understand how this can go off the rails very quickly, so I'm going to say this as carefully as possible. He explained how he has to detach from feelings of negativity, feelings of self-deprecation, feelings of doubt and misfortune, and like not taking responsibility for certain thoughts that are not his fault to begin with, because at the end of the day, he is not those thoughts, those negative thoughts and those self-deprecating thoughts. He is not to identify with those self-depreciating feelings or anxious jolts or depressive emotions. And he explained how a lot of times that's how we as a species get in trouble, because we're the only ones in the animal kingdom who can do this. We're the only ones, as it was explained on the podcast, we are the only ones on planet Earth in the animal kingdom who can identify with our sorrows. And I thought that was super powerful. Like, wow, I never thought of it like that. Like, yeah, you are not your thoughts. That is true. But to identify, like, even if you're unknowingly doing it or involuntarily doing it, it's kind of like second nature to us, or it is nature to us. Not even second, it's nature to us to identify with our thoughts and emotions, be they good or bad. And oftentimes we like to reach for the latter, the bad ones, the negative. We oftentimes cling to the negative because it's comfortable or it's natural or it's, whatever, right? So he talked about how you catch those thoughts, hold it captive, and detach. Do not identify with it. Instead, let the thought wash over you and consider it, but don't take it to the point of identification with it or cuddling up with it, as he put it. And I think that's a super important point for a lot of us to realize, is we oftentimes internalize our thoughts so much to the point where we identify with them. And it's not that you shouldn't identify with your thoughts, like, by all means, let's keep the good ones and throw out the bad, right? But I think the only exception to that rule of not identifying with your thoughts or identifying with negative thoughts in particular, the only exception would be to find your identity. Find your identity through those thoughts. Not with those thoughts, but through them. Like, filtering those negative thoughts and emotions and realizing what is true and letting go what is not true, right? Oftentimes, I think it was Epictetus who said, we spend more time living in imagination than we do reality. So men often, and this is a Epictetus quote, I believe, that is butchered to high heaven, so please forgive me, but it's it goes something like men are often more concerned in imagination than they are in reality, and that is to say that we spend more time creating these scenarios in our mind of what could happen, and instead we don't wait and see or look to see what did happen. Because even after something does happen, what do? We still think, what if? Well, what about? Well, how about? And it's like, stop. Stop it. That's not what happened. And it's not going to happen that way either. Well, what if it did? Well, it did. You know? I think oftentimes we need to catch ourselves and we need to accept the reality that is here now, you know? And so I thought that was super powerful. Again, I will link the podcast that I listened to down in the description so you could take a look at it. But it was a really good conversation about mental health and like how to properly hold thoughts captive, I think, you know, and what that really means. Sorry, I had to sneeze. I had to pause it. Pardon me. So that's a little something I wanted to share with you all. I hope that in some way, like by all means, go listen to the podcast for yourself. Like don't just take my word for it, but like listen to what they were talking about yourself because it is good stuff, and it really made me reconsider some things about my own thoughts and my own patterns. So by all means, please go take a look at it. Have a listen. So other than that, I do want to talk about the weekend prior to last and this past weekend. First thing is I got to take my parents out for, for their 35th anniversary, which is huge. So, love you, Mom and Dad. Thank you for making it so far. Happy 35. You know, congrats, you did it, and you're still going strong to this day. Excuse me, yawning. So, yeah, huge shout out to my mom and dad, and you know, for continuing to be the best example that I could ever see in a relationship. So we went out to dinner. Surprisingly, the place was very packed, and then we went to a show afterwards. So we went to see the great Brian Regan, like comedian Brian Regan, not the writer Brian Regan, like for 101 Dalmatians, but comedian Brian Regan. Fantastic show. He had some great new material I'd never heard before, and we had we had a blast. Just sitting there and just hanging out and having a good time, and I'm really happy. Excuse me. Sorry. It's very late here, so I'm on fumes right now, but yeah. Got to take them out and had a great time. Spent a lot of Sunday just relaxing and, preparing for things and getting ready for the upcoming weeks, which is, again, FWA is coming up, so there's that. But also, this past weekend, most recent, I had a very lovely friend over. Those of you might know Benji the Beagle, another YouTuber slash friend who was kind enough to come and visit, and we had a beautiful weekend together. We we hung out, we got to see some old friends that they remember because they used to live around this area, and we had a blast. We got to film some stuff together, collaborate, and it was a beautiful thing. So yeah, shout out to Benji, thank you for visiting. I'm glad we had a great weekend together, and I already miss you, so can't wait till the next time we see you. But yeah, other than that, I do want to, I think I already mentioned this, but I want to mention it again because it's worth it. My work has officially cut overtime to save money, and I'm thankful that it's just overtime and not actually laying people off, because that would be tragic. We don't want that. So yeah, I'm glad that it was just overtime, but it still sucks. So at this time, I am looking to at this time I'm really looking to change careers. I think it's about that time that I did that. And I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know when that time will come to where I need to pull the trigger, but I'm hoping that very soon I will make the leap and finally stop being comfortable enough to say, yes, it's time for a new career. I think I need to continue my career in mental health like I, had planned on originally. So I believe that is definitely a calling on my life, Speaking of callings, I do want to mention I've been watching a new show recently. It's like brand new. It's called House of David, and it's on Prime, and it's basically about King David and like starting from his life as a child and moving all the way up to where he becomes king. And I have to say, the cast that they got for this show is fantastic. Like I don't know where they got these people, but wow. Like, not only is it like biblically accurate, but it's also accurate in character. Like if you ever and this is of course completely subjective, but um most people know about King David. They know who David was. Like they know about David's songs and psalms, and even if you're not religious or if you're not spiritual or haven't really spent time studying, scripture or anything like that, it's still like the Psalms of David are still a very beautiful thing to behold. But anyway, so but I gotta say this show is fantastic, and if any of you ever get a chance, definitely look it up. Like it's on Prime. It's yeah, it's free on Prime with a subscription. But yeah, it's I'm on episode 3 right now, and let me just say to those of you nerds out there, if you man, if the guy that they got to play King Saul is perfect. Like he's just the right amount of crazy to be Saul. And if any of you know the story, King Saul basically lost his mind when the prophet Samuel, told him that he would no longer be the chosen for king of Israel. And the guy that they got to play King Saul, wow, he could play a really good, insane dude. Like he's got crazy eyes. Like it's actually kind of scary. But anyway, just want to throw that out there. Um, Other than that, I think that's about it. I don't really have anything else to discuss. Oh yeah, I do want to mention, and for those of you listening now, it'll probably be old news at this point, but I have a new ASMR coming out this coming weekend. So this is a more or less an announcement for just this current weekend. Yeah, new ASMR is coming out. I think you're gonna like it. Let's just say you are about due for a checkup. Yeah. So hope you'll enjoy that. It'll be a good time. I'm excited for you to see it. I spent all day when I got home finishing editing, and it turned out really well. So I am very excited. Um, so as it stands, I didn't get any questions from last podcast. But if any of you have any questions or have any like life advice that you would like to hear, please by all means put them in the comments, or send me an email. I'll pop the email below, and you get to see. I get to see and hear what you have to say. So I'm excited. But since we didn't get any questions, I do want to leave you with a couple parting thoughts. Let me just get my little book here. I have it handy. Okay, so a couple parting thoughts for you. And remember, this may or may not be relevant, but I think it is just enough. So, all right, 2 things, 2 quotes that I love. First one, let's see, I lost the first one. Let me see here. Interesting. I'm rereading all my quotes. I have a little book that I keep quotes in, and I write them down. So yeah. Okay. A couple things. The first one is a reminder of our own mortality. And I believe I mentioned this on a past podcast, but I think it's worth speaking about again. This is from Epictetus, Stoic philosopher. And it says, "You are a little soul carrying about a corpse." Remember that. As if to say, memento mori, remember death. It comes for us all, so let's seize the day and make the most of this minute. No day but today. You are a little soul carrying about a corpse, meaning this body will fail us one day, but our soul will live on. And the second one is also from Epictetus, and he says in this one, "There is zero shame or no shame at all in making an honest effort." I'm going to read that one more time. There is no shame in making an honest effort. So, also to say, in other words, an honest effort, be it in a way that is good or bad, or, well, let me rephrase. An honest effort is always good, because the truth sets you free. And as Tony Robbins would say, the truth will set you free, but first it's going to piss you off. I love that quote. The truth will set you free, but first it's going to piss you off. He couldn't be more right. There is no shame in making an honest effort. So, even if you make an effort and there's no reward or credit or ending to it that is seemingly justifiable to the means, it's okay. Because there's no shame, there's no worry, you got it out there, and it's been said, it's been done, so there's no need to feel like there should be any more, because you've done it, you've completed it, and that's all that needs to be done. Whatever comes after is purely bonus, purely extra, but making that honest effort to be honest, or making an honest effort in the first place, that's what truly matters, is that effort in between. So that's the podcast, everybody. I want to thank you all for listening once again. Thank you for being patient with me, and I always want to thank you for your support. Like I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I get to do this. I don't have to. I get to. And it's not because it's not because I need to do this for anything. It's not because I'm trying to get something out of this or out of any of you, but I am just grateful. Excuse me. I am just so grateful that I get to do this every day, and I would not truly be here without any of you. And I just want to thank you all once again for being there, being supportive, and just being wholly and unshamedly you, making an honest effort to be you, because that is the most important thing you can be in this life. So, my goodness, there's something stuck. Pardon me. But I leave you, as usual, with these parting thoughts. Sic Parvis Magna, which translates to greatness from small beginnings. Don't forget where you came from, where you started, and those who brought you up, and those who continue to stand by you to this day. Where you began and where your journey continues to go, remember that there is greatness there in every step. You just got to find it. And sometimes it finds you. Sometimes you got to make it. Depends on where you are in life. And the same way, always be you, be yourself. Never forget that between the past, present, and future, there has never been anyone like you. And there never will be anyone like you. And there's no one like you right now. Only you can do the things that you can and the way that you can. And nobody can replicate that ever. So be wholly, unapologetically, and honestly effortless in every effort possible. Every honest effort possible. You got this. So until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox. I'll see some of you at FWA. I'm looking forward to it. And I will catch you in the next episode. Bye. Bye-bye. Love you all. Meow meow.